sustainability, new legislation, and what have you. This is your host, Paul Ira, on Shades of Green. And if our listeners have questions, you can call us on 702-257-5396. That's 702-257-KDWN, the best talk radio in the Valley. So Jennifer, we're talking about all this legislation and solar and what have you. There's this thing called RPS, the Renewable Portfolio Standard. Let's briefly touch on that, and was that, and where do we want to go with that?
So the Renewable Portfolio Standard is a set of statutes that says this much of Nevada's energy will be provided by renewable sources, whether it's wind, solar, geothermal, what have you.
Low-head hydro.
Low-head hydro.
So in the past, that was 25%. That was
correct. Currently, we are required to get 25% by 2025.
Per 2017 legislation.
No, that is existing.
That's existing.
And we were, just to give you a little bit of background, Nevada was the second state to introduce an RPS, and we've been moving it up in increments. Last session, Assemblyman Brooks introduced AB 206, which would have increased it to 40% by 2030. That was passed out of the legislature, and then it was vetoed by the governor. And he had a very detailed veto letter with expressing a lot of concerns and reasons why he believes and is supportive of and committed to making Nevada a renewable leader, but because of some of the issues that were circulating around, including question 3, which we'll talk about in a second, he felt that he needed to veto that legislation. So as a result, there was a group that put together a ballot initiative that would, just like question 3, amend the Constitution to require that Nevada generate or acquire 50% of its energy by 2040 from renewable sources. So that is a ballot initiative. It is a constitutional amendment, which means it's on for the first time in 18, and then it will be on again. If it passes in 18, it'll be on again in 2020.
So tell us a little bit more about, we need to drill down just a little bit on question 6. So it's going to increase our renewable portfolio standard to require generation of energy up to 50%?
Generation or acquisition of energy.
Or acquisition.
Right. So what that means is it's not just, so the vision is, and I think that what the intent is that it's, generation in the state. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants us to be able to build things, create jobs, get economic benefits from things we build in the state. But question 6 also has to, the renewable portfolio as it is, allows the purchase of credits, anything like that lets an energy provider track energy that's coming in and then being distributed out. If it's renewable, it can either come from generation or from credits.
So to be clear, how much power does Nevada residents power? How much is purchased from out of state?
No, I don't know the answer off the top of my head. But some.
And if we bump this up to 50%, because here's one of the issues, if we start generating all this power with renewable energy, what happens to our power plants? Are they not going to be, they're going to be too big for us? So if we're buying, my point is, if we're buying power from outside now, all that renewable energy will be reducing how much we're buying from outside, and we'll be buying more from in-house or from NV Energy. More from them, but less outside purchase.
How question 6 gets, if question 6 passes in 18 and then passes again in 20, how it gets implemented is going to be up to the legislature. What they can do in terms of restrictions on purchases from out of state, requiring generation in state, all of that stuff is going to be up to the legislature. Right now, the power plants that we have in state, there are, if you go and you look at the Governor's Committee on Energy Choice, if you go to the divestment subcommittee, you can see a list of all of the assets that NV Energy has, whether they be fossil fuel assets, there's only a handful of those, or their PPAs, or their direct purchase renewable plants. But that is all, I don't know all of those answers, Paul, but you can find that all on the Governor's Office of Energy under the Governor's Committee on Energy Choice.
But I think the goal is, right now, 74% of the power plants in the state are natural gas. We maybe have a small percentage of coal left, but you want to transition those to solar farms, I guess. That would be the goal.
Yeah, we don't have that many gas plants in the state. Most of it is imported natural gas on pipelines. So, we don't.
So we're buying power that way.
We're buying power, we get our energy through natural gas. I guess that does come to the plants, but we're importing the actual resource.
So in a sense, that's buying outside power.
That's buying
Yeah,
outside power.
The power's created in the state
Created
though,
here,
through
but
the
we're
plant.
buying outside
Right.
power to
Right.
generate it.
But
Okay.
if you look at, to Stan's point, if you go to the Public Utility Commission and you look at NV Energy's current integrated resource plan, which is a 20-year look ahead of how they want to buy energy and how they want to create energy, they currently have proposed 6 solar plants that would be 1,001 megawatts, right, Stan?
I think we do.
Of generation that would be solar, and more importantly, solar plus storage.
Yeah.
So they are really looking at, under the existing system that NV Energy has to comply with to plan for our loads going out 20 years, they are looking at really developing our in-state resources.
And so by 2040, then those power purchase agreements that are in place now would expire and then be replaced by the solar that are going in.
So my point about all of this is, as we increase the amount of renewable energy we use in the state, we also increase the number of jobs, because people need to be building this and maintaining us and operating in
Just
state.
As long as it is in-state generation and not being, and that the portfolio is not being met by credits. If it's out-of-state credits, you're not getting in-state development of jobs.
Okay, so that's important to understand about question 6.
Right.
So that it does increase the amount of renewable energy, it could potentially increase the amount of jobs and improve the economy in Nevada.
Yeah, because anytime if you look at the governor's tax abatement program and you look at some of the data on that, again, Governor's Office of Energy, you can go and look at the renewable tax abatement program. That is a program that has created tons of jobs, incredible billions literally of investment. A lot of the projects built under that do send energy out of the state to other places, which is fine, because one of the governor's goals has been making Nevada a leading exporter of energy. So if we sell energy out, that's fantastic.
As we should be. I talk to people all the time about Nevada being the mecca of renewable energy, and if that's the case, then we could generate a lot of revenue by selling energy outside the state through renewable energy projects. So more than just, if we went beyond the 50%, for example, we could sell all that we produce, no problem.
Potentially.
Potentially.
Potentially. There's a lot of, it's really, here's one of the other things I just really want to highlight. It's really easy to talk about energy policy in bullet points. The reality is, it is so much more complicated than bullet points. So whenever anybody says, like, more renewables equal more jobs, possibly, potentially, it all depends on how the legislature crafts it, and it all depends on our relationship with our neighboring states. So, it's nice and pithy to talk about energy policy in bullet points, but it's a lot more complicated than that.
So people that are interested in this can definitely go to the Governor's Office of Energy online and get a ton of information.
Yeah, the Governor's Office of Energy, the Public Utility Commission, there are a ton of really intense resources that people can learn about how our energy policy truly works.
And then when we come back, we're going to talk about the Gwynn Center and what they think about all of this.
Right.
And we'll be right back.
Okay.
Shades of Green on KDWI.